Well, it's definitely been an interesting past couple of days. Let's see. Apparently, Kathleen. Well, I'm saying that for last. Steven Crowder is apparently suing YouTube. It's about time. Someone really needs to put them in their place. Although I highly doubt this will go far. Hollywood is blackwashing another red. Although I don't know if the one they have playing Sonya Red's actually black. She's a good actress, I think. I saw her in Killjoys. It was like the show itself could be mediocre. The acting was really the only thing that kept me interested. But she's an okay actress. But yeah, they really seem to hate redheads, which is really insufferable sometimes. Because like they kind of speak to the hypocrisy of blackwashing. Like they bitch about whitewashing characters, which to an extent I get. If you're adapting something and it involves a black character, you'd want the best character who looks the best actor who resembles the character. That includes their race. But at the same time, the hypocrisy is they have no problem doing that to white characters with black actors, especially redheads. And I like redheads and gingers, so I kind of have a bit of a bias against it. Not that I've seen read Sonya yet. I've never read any of the comics. I thought I heard it had something to do with Conan or the Conan universe. But anyway, and also apparently Kathleen Kennedy may be going out the door, but we've heard this story before, and we've been disappointed in the past. I mean, I'm hoping she's gone because Kathleen Kennedy's kind of like a step relative. Something could happen to her and you would not care. You would be so apathetic. Either that or happy. It's kind of a toss-up with what your response will be. And I have an article on this by Pirates and Princesses. Kathleen Kennedy's tenure as the head of Lucasfilm may be coming to a close. Quietly, things have been shifting at Lucasfilm and the Walt Disney Company, a company I would not mind seeing crash and burn. One might say the mood is different in the house that George Lucas built. It started with the dramatic cleanup of social media behavior by Lucasfilm employees. Then, despite the Herculean efforts it would take to get Indiana Jones 5 into production, everything was thrown on at making the movie a reality. The head of Lucasfilm, Kathleen Kennedy, began scheduling appearances at the production of the movie along with her husband. She's married. Frank Marshall, you poor, poor bastard. In a way that isn't often seen for an executive producer. Next, the bad news for Star Wars and Disney Plus began subtly leaking from Disney, almost certainly in a soft, coordinated manner. Is indeed the swan song for Miss Kennedy. Kennedy is in the final year of her contract and with Walt Disney Company for presiding over the studio, largely all about Star Wars. Her tenure has been a bumpy one, and that's putting it mildly. While her immediate box office success with The Force Awakens and Rogue One was monumental, things quickly devolved afterwards from the financial position. Whereas other Disney properties grew in popularity and economic importance, Star Wars began to diminish with the release of The Last Jedi. It was a steady drop until The Mandalorian. If you've been following Star Wars, you've probably read the articles like the ones above. You know that there are people who defend Kathleen Kennedy and those who despise how she's performed. But the tenuous relationship she's had with Disney was ultimately frayed when Favreau demonstrated just how popular Star Wars can still be with The Mandalorian, and yet that's somewhat squandered with the mishandling of Gino Carano. Whatever your opinion of the actress, the way in which she was terminated from the company was a public relations nightmare. Yeah, it was. I think I heard that she found out she was fired via tweet like everyone else. So, dick move, Disney. But then again, or Lucasfilm or whatever, I don't know why I should be that shocked or appalled. These are people who are garbage human beings. Like, they're not evil, they're just appalling when it comes to their behavior. Of these heads, Feige is seen as the most essential executive, having provided his medal with the massive success of the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which may be on its way to crashing and burning, and streaming shows like WandaVision after it was announced in 2019 that Feige would produce a Star Wars movie. There are rumors that he might assume more control of Lucasfilm. However, insiders say that Feige is fully committed with his Marvel duties and has no ambitions to lead Lucasfilm or take more of a role, which is good. I do not like Feige. I think he's a douche. Like, he has a douche face. Just looking at him gives me the creeps. In the above quote from a Variety article by Brent Lang and Matt Donnelly, you'll notice the insider they've spoken with are purposely throwing Kathleen Kennedy as well as Pixar leaders under the proverbial bus. Kevin Feige, head of Marvel, is the real essential executive, they say. And while they heap praise on other Disney executives throughout their expose, Kennedy is essentially forgotten other than this throwaway mention. Her only reason for being included in the story is to say that Feige could have her job, except he doesn't want it. I mean, who would? I think the best example would be, I think Alex Becker. I can't remember his name, but he had a good analogy. It's like she went to a hotel, she shit on the bed, or bought a house, shit on the bed, refused to clean it up, and now no one wants anything to do with it. That's more or less the analogy. That lines up with what we've heard for the past few years. We've reported for the past year that Disney would likely be amicable for some easy way to part with Miss Kennedy. But what's telling is the Variety is now putting that information out into the public sphere from their position as a trade publication. And make no mistake, Disney uses outlets like Variety to tip the industry as to where they'd like to go. If you listen to the second quarter earnings report held by Disney last week, you may have noticed that they were thrilled with Disney Plus's growth in mature markets. What are mature markets? Well, they are essentially places where Disney Plus has been launched longer than brand new geographical locations, given that Disney Plus is still a very new service. It's a kind of fun to listen Disney refer to mature markets, the biggest mature market in the United States, and are also places where Star Wars fans, by far the most significant, or that's where they're most. Yeah, but maybe no mistake about that, though. Like, Disney can't handle mature content. They have to sanitize everything. It's like take the Grimm stories that were made into Disney movies. They sanitized those to hell. Some of those were done when Walt Disney was still alive. Yeah, if Disney today... Well, actually, no, they've done that with the live actions. They've bastardized them. Like, the sanitized versions I saw when I was a kid, they were tolerable when I look back on them. But the Disney versions sound like dog shit. Like, a dog's breakfast would be more appealing than watching those movies, based on what I've read on them. So why do they call the United States a mature market? The answer is because growth slowed to such an extent in the second quarter that they seem to be readjusting their expectations for the increase in subscribers. Privately, sources say that Disney knows they have a Star Wars problem. Subscribers began either slowing down or dropping after the Gina Carano situation. The goodwill that was earned back from Star Wars via the Jon Favreau universe of Star Wars storytelling was decimated by the mismanaged Lucasfilm. Perhaps worse, the following release of the High Republic line, Star Wars fiction, was an utter failure. Yeah, that is... Well, yeah, there's no way of putting it. It was a failure, and the people like Justine Ireland who are making it, they suck. Like, they know nothing about Star Wars. It's kind of apparent when you look at some of the stuff like, there was this one guy falling, so he used his saber to stab into a tree, and he, for some reason, stopped. A lightsaber wouldn't make you halt your descent. You would just keep falling. The only difference was you would be making a hole line in the tree as you fell. That kind of shows they have no idea what they're doing. And, yeah, the people they have making them are either talentless hacks or, like Ireland, are racist. And I mean Justine Ireland, not the country of Ireland. God knows they've taken enough hits. I don't have to dogpile on them. Consider the recent Star Wars material other than The Mandalorian. Star Wars Resistance was a flop. Star Wars Galaxy of Adventures was mocked vociferously. The High Republic is perhaps the worst ever received content since a certain holiday special. Yeah, the holiday special doesn't seem so much like shit anymore, I'm guessing. Like, I've only seen clips of it. and I've never heard the audio, and I do not want to because I don't want my eardrums to commit suicide. But compared to what Disney's put out, the holiday special looks like Shakespeare. The Bad Batch has launched to a lackluster excitement. Is there any buzz? If there's one thing that will get people like Bob Chapek to make a big decision quickly, it's declining stock prices, and there's no better way to drive down Disney stock at the moment than to fail on delivering subscriber-increasing Disney Plus content. Does all this mean that Kathleen Kennedy is most assuredly exiting the role she's held since the Disney purchased Lucasfilm? Not necessarily. We could see Kathleen Kennedy getting a one-year limited extension. It's also possible she could be bumped to a legacy role, but financially it no longer seems feasible for Disney to keep her on board, and her latest endeavor continues a pattern of incompetency. We are now hearing from sources and from public records that Indiana Jones 5 is again running behind schedule. Whereas the movie was supposed to begin shooting this spring, we're now finding out that the movie is still filling in casting roles. And yeah, I don't think they'll fire her. Like, Disney seems to reward failure, like most industries in America now. So yeah, no, she's not going anywhere. She's probably going to be around for a long time. But fingers crossed, I wouldn't mind seeing her get the boot. The movie is now reportedly scheduled to not shoot with Harrison Ford until August at the earliest, and may actually shoot after Guardians of the Galaxy 3 begins, considering one injury to Ford could end the entire movie for good. The effort and money being thrown at the film is quite the gamble, and if Indiana Jones 5 can't make it to theaters by its latest release date of July 29th, 2020, you could potentially be looking at a release date where Harrison Ford is closer to 81 years old. I mean, we're rooting for him, but this is becoming quite an unprecedented action film. Can you imagine an octogenarian crackling a whip in a summer blockbuster? More power to Harrison Ford if he can pull it off. The man is a legend after all, and people are staying healthy longer, I suppose. But all this is to say that Indiana Jones 5 has been a mess to make, and they've delayed it to the point that it is it's at the very edge of impossibility. That's sort of been Kathleen Kennedy's ride at Lucasfilm, for better or worse. While she has managed to stay afloat this long, don't be surprised that the Force's female executive is finally on her way out, and perhaps a Hail Mary Indiana Jones 5 film that actually turns out well for everyone involved would be just the way for her to ride off into the sunset. That would certainly explain the amount of resources going into such high-risk film attempts, and I thought Disney hated that. Like, I thought they hated taking risks. And that's the story. Let us know what you think in the comments below, and who you like to see as a replacement if she does, in fact, leave the studio this year and next. And that's the article. I'll be putting a link to it in the description so you can read it, because I'm pretty sure I butchered some of this. But, like, I'm hopeful, or at the very least, I hope she does go, because I despise Kathleen Kennedy as a person. Like, as a businesswoman, she's competent. Creatively, she's more bankrupt than Jar Jar Abrams. Actually, creatively, it's hard to decide who's worse, because at least Abrams has made movies that did well. I mean, he still sucks as a human being. I would not mind seeing him take a long walk off a cliff, career-wise. Like, I don't want him to die, but God, he is insufferable as a human being and a failure. Like, people say Lovecraft was a failure as a human being. I disagree. He just had standards. J.J. Abrams, he pretends to have standards. But yeah, he is just a douchebag, and like a hipster douchebag of the highest caliber that I've seen, and one of my least liked people in Hollywood. And Kathleen Kennedy brings people like him on board, and it just shows she has a bias and she is unprofessional. I also think she may have been the one who wanted to get rid of Gina Carano. Like, there's no proof that it was her idea, but it would not surprise me if she was like, problem solved. That, or I've also heard some people speculate that it might have been Kevin Feige who's like, yeah, she's going to be a problem. We have to get rid of her. And I'm thinking Kathleen Kennedy will just be all over that. But if it's not that, it's just her unprofessionalism with the fans of Star Wars. Her and Rian Johnson Like, I didn't hate the sequel trilogy till they started acting that way. Before that, I was willing to give them a chance. But that just kind of made me go, yeah, I'm not giving you my money. But anyway, I'm digressing. We hear stuff like this in the past where it looked like she would be gone, and bam, she is still there. And I don't think she'll go. They'll find some way to make her stick around somehow. Because like, it could also be worse depending on who they replace her with if they get rid of her. Because the social justice crowd likes her. One of the reasons I heard that she was given a renewal of her contract was she won this award, and if they fired her then, it would have looked bad on them because she just got this award and she's this strong female figure in the industry. So it would have been bad. Like, I would have said, fuck the look. Just do it. She's costing us money. Like, I thought this was an industry where the bottom line is how much money you make, and that determines whether you stay or go. Kathleen Kennedy has cost them money. Like, Solo cost them money, and that was kind of her fault. Kinda. Which is weird, because a Star Wars movie should be able to basically print money for you, as another YouTuber put it one time. And yeah, no, she just costs money in business, and she's supposed to be a smart businesswoman, but she's made some really poor business decisions based on politics. So I think she needs to go for the sake of... Well, yeah, not for the sake of anything. She just needs to go. She's bad for business. But she's not going to go, probably. Fingers crossed. It's a toss-up at this point, and I say we just wait and see. But pardon me if I'm a little cynical and skeptical on Disney being smart enough to doing the good choice, because they've made dumb decisions in the past. For God's sakes, they lie to people to get their properties. They lied to George Lucas's face, or I forget his name. Bob Iger. Yeah, he did. So they are morally corrupt and untrustworthy. So I would not put it past them to do this stupid thing. Because again, we live in a country where failure is rewarded. And I am dragging this on longer than I should have. Sorry for that. I just wanted to bring this news to your attention so you would hear about it. Maybe give some hope for people who are bored out of their minds right now. So have a nice day, and remember the game was rigged from the start.